Walker, you were a senior in high school when Herschel Walker ran that ball in 1980.
Wow.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John and Carter Powell and I are joined by Logan and Walker from the Second String Podcast and now radio show. We talk about how their show got started, winning the national championship, the 2022 season, and much more. Be sure to follow Logan at Logan M. Booker and Walker at Walker Country on Twitter. And you can follow us on social media at My Gotta Podcast. Finally, we'd love for all of you to come join us at Dog Central. That's DAWGS Central.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
So what's the countdown today, Logan?
20. What did we do this morning, Walker? 26.
26.
I don't know if you saw it. I don't even know if I posted the video. We had y'all have seen the countdown we're doing at Your Georgia Country. I had a duck with me this morning.
Was it slimy?
A ceramic duck.
Oh, a ceramic duck. Okay. I haven't seen the video.
If we can get someone to bring us a live duck, Walker, that'd be like the pinnacle.
Why didn't we think of that?
I have a friend that is currently raising 3 ducks.
Okay. So we got a connection, Walker.
There's a duck connection. They're ducklings. So,
well, I've had numerous people now tell me that ducks are not slimy. I don't believe it
keep
yet.
Fighting the good fight.
I got to see it for myself, maybe.
I know.
But we're just going to keep it rolling. I think it's like my own personal conspiracy theory. Like, have you all heard the birds aren't real people?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is going to be my hill to die on. Ducks are slimy.
Ducks are slimy. What do you think, Carter?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, they're oily. They're oily at worst.
It's the time for a fact check.
Let's get a quick fact check.
Thank you. Ding.
We have a soundboard. It's nowhere near as sophisticated with many fewer things. So you're mentioning when is podcast day. I actually don't know because I listen to the podcast version. I'm in North Carolina, so I don't get to listen to the radio version. I don't even know what day you guys record on.
Thursdays, roughly. I mean, that's the typical day we'll sit in Thursday.
That's Thursday morning.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it drops Thursday night.
See, I could ask Carter all the time. I didn't even need to ask you guys.
I'm pretty sure Carter was listening to it last night. He leaves it on loop. So I'll walk by at 11 o'clock at night on my way to bed or something, and I'll just hear it blasting out of his bedroom.
That's why Carter's the best cheesehead there ever was, ever will be.
As Logan knows, we do it for the kids.
That's right. Yeah, during football season, once we crank games up, we try to do a couple episodes a week, Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursdays, we actually record it specifically in time frames for radio. We have to have the way the show and the radio works, you may even picked up on this, Carter, is that it has to be 2 halves of the show, and each half has to equal 24 minutes. So that first segment, we can go anywhere from 1 to 22 minutes. It doesn't matter, 24 minutes, 23, as long as that second segment and the first segment equal exactly 24. And then the same thing for segment 3 and 4. They can be whatever lengths we want, but they have to equal 24 minutes. That way the commercial segments we throw in there aren't altered, and then we just have a 48-minute block that fills up 1 hour of radio time. So that one we actually do pay attention to the clock. On Tuesdays in football season, that one only goes over iTunes, so we can do what we want. We don't even have to take a break in Tuesday if we don't want to. We can just go a whole time with a single segment. But it's funny, man, working in radio, and Walker can tell you this too, we appreciate the value of 1/10 of a second more than anybody else in this world. It's insane if I'm recording something that has to be right at 3 minutes. If it goes 299.9 or 3.001, that's an eternity, right, Walker? It's how did I go so far over that? So it really is very precise when it comes down to radio stuff. But it becomes a sixth sense.
Even now, my wife was in the studio last week, the Your Georgia Country studio, because it was my birthday. So she was super nice and brought coffee and breakfast for Chloe and I. But she's looking at the clock. When the song is ending, there's a countdown on the screen, and it's 30, 29, 28. Tells you how much is left in the song. And my wife is freaking out. Now, she's been married to me 23 years. I've been doing radio at least 20 of those. And she's like, you only have 20 seconds before the song's over. And I said,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I could probably go get a cup of coffee and be back in 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
20 seconds is like a lunch break, man. No
That's
doubt.
a lunch break.
That's right.
You guys
Carter,
have an alarm? There's an alarm. You have an alarm because I've heard you refer to the alarm. That alarm sound is we've got to wrap it up.
Got to drink. Actually, no, the funny thing is the alarm clock that goes off during the second string has nothing to do with the second string. That is y'all know Dog Nation Daily, Brandon Adams, Dog Nation Daily. Y'all, I'm sure listen to him a lot, but we broadcast his show at noon on the Ref. And he sends me 3 segments every single day to import into our radio station. They air at 12:05. And Brandon, I love him to death, man, but he may send me those anywhere between 12:03 and 12:04:30. And then, I got to get those in ASAP. So that alarm is basically telling me, open the Dropbox, stare at the Dropbox until the segments get into my lap, because sometimes I think he plays a game with, how close can he get to airtime without giving me the segments. Once I get him, it's pretty quick. It's just the fact that alarm tells me it's time to be looking at the Dropbox. So it actually, funny thing enough, doesn't have anything to do with Kareem Brown and the Second String podcast.
Interesting.
So, yeah. But we still drink anyway, right, Walker?
Drink.
Speaking of, Jim, did we even do the intro on who we're speaking with? Because I think everybody probably knows, but
I mean,
we should probably drop the formal intro.
Well, through the magic of editing, it'll be in the intro that I do like a little voiceover. But yeah, so we can take a step back. So we do have Logan Booker and Walker of the Second String podcast fame. You can also find both of them on Twitter. Logan's at Logan and Booker. Walker is at Walker Country. You can hear them both on the radio, whether it's on 960 The Ref or 106.1. Did I get that right, Walker? I think I got that right.
That's correct.
Your Georgia Country. Hey, even though I live in North Carolina, I know these things. It's been a little while for me, but I still remember. Hey, I mean, those were actually the 2 stations that I would listen to in college. So, not too much has changed since I was in Georgia, I guess.
Let's do a quick fact check.
Ding! Good job, Carter.
So I did have a question, and there is a reason behind my question. So the Second String podcast has been going on for how long now?
When did we start it, Walker? I want to say early spring 2018. I want to say it was right after the Rose Bowl.
Okay,
I was going to guess 4 years.
Yeah,
and
it's on episode 430 right now. 440.
Wait, hold on. Let's do a quick fact check. I think we just recorded 255, so you're giving us way too much credit, Carter.
And I also really quick want to point out, I did introduce Logan and Walker, and I didn't introduce Carter because everyone knows who Carter is anyways. So we also have the most famous podcaster on.
That's right.
We both were doing radio, and I was still am working my main job at the country station, and Logan at the time was working at the news talk station, and both of us really were into sports, and we're like, wouldn't it be cool to talk about sports all the time like some of these other guys get to? And so we said, let's start our own podcast. So that's why it's called The Second String, because we weren't exactly first string yet.
Right.
Since that time, we've gotten to do Logan a lot more than me, a lot more sports talk radio. So we've graduated somewhat over the years.
Yeah. Well, I heard you last week. Walker. You were doing a little Dave fill-in time. So hold up for the first string, at least then.
Called up to the bigs.
That's exactly what it was. I felt like I went from Gwinnett to Atlanta, just like that. Logan will let me sit in with him sometimes when Dave's not around.
Yeah.
And let's be dead honest, the main reason we started our podcast is because our bosses were always telling us to do more than you're already doing. And we're like, well, if you want us to do more, what if we did a podcast? And then I joke about that, but we are encouraged at the radio station to do a whole lot more than just our on-air time. If I just went to work and did a 4-hour radio show and left, I'm not going to get my full salary for doing that. I mean, Walker can say too, there's a lot of things we do that are not just morning show. So not that it's a time filler. We do have a very, deep passion in it. I think we've grown something pretty good. We enjoy the heck out of it. But
yeah,
I mean, in all honesty, the encouragement to get your hands involved in a lot of different things at the radio station, it was a in one of the ingredients of starting it up. But certainly, yeah, like we said, we really wanted to talk sports. We talk sports in the hall all the time, and but like Walker said, I was filling in at the news station, or I was producing Tim Bryant's show every single morning, and whenever one of the ref guys was out, I'd be the backup, and I enjoyed it. I wanted to do it all the time, but we started that show just from scratch. It'd be funny if we went back and listened to like the first couple episodes. I bet we're absolutely horrible, and many would tell you we're horrible today. But like we didn't know what we were doing. I think we've really built a nice little chemistry and a little. At least some sort of continuity with our sound bites and topics and all that. So it's definitely grown exponentially over the 4 years we've done it, but it is a passion project more than anything. I mean, we enjoy doing it.
You guys have definitely have a chemistry together. That was immediately something that I noticed when I first started listening to you guys several years ago.
Yep. Our wives are very jealous of what we have. There's no doubt about that.
That was actually an impetus for, like, when we were talking about what we were going to do together. I was like, we got to be like Logan and Walker. Like, we just got to two guys just shooting the shit over stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carter.
And now
he's
right next to you.
He's taking all the credit for getting to listen to the Second String podcast.
I think that was part of it. Was there's a million Georgia football podcasts, and we thought, we're not going to take ourselves way too seriously. We're just going to have some fun with it and talk ball and talk about other stuff too. I mean, that's where the whole entertainments section came from, because we both love TV and movies, and we love the Braves, and we've made an effort over the years to talk about Atlanta United. Logan, you want to talk about the Falcons?
Heck no, man.
No.
Okay.
No.
We don't talk much about them, but, golf, whatever's going on, we just love sports.
I was going to say, you may have heard us say this before, is that we are not X's and O's guys. Like, we're not going to come in here after a football game and break down the schemes. We're not Dog Out West, who's a great Twitter follow, all the stats and stuff he puts out there. I love the stuff he does, but like, I learn a lot by that too. Like, we are fans that have never played a snap of football in our lives. I don't know if you have, Walker. You don't look like it, but I mean, there's no football skill in our body whatsoever. But we are fans, just like our listeners are as well. So we have enough knowledge to break things down and talk about it. But we're not going to squash you and kill you with analytics and breakdowns like a lot. And that's great material. It's just not us, and we try to veer away from that as well. So
technically, every single Atlanta team sucks because the Braves, they aren't technically in Atlanta.
No, come on, man.
Marietta, and the Bulldogs aren't in Atlanta, but the Falcons are, and Atlanta United are.
Remember when Atlanta United used to be good, Carter? Those were the good days, man.
Atlanta United's having a hard time.
The Atlanta Falcons blew the Super Bowl.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about, Carter. Refresh my memory, please. I'd love to go down that rabbit hole.
I don't know if you guys saw that Joseph Martinez is having a boy. So that was on. They had like a birth or whatever gender reveal. Yeah.
Nice.
So I don't know if he's been signed to the academy team yet, but hopefully that'll happen soon. I dropped the link in the chat. I don't know if you guys have seen that or have clicked on it, but so I wanted to tie something in. Maybe it's not related to the Second String at all, but it's related to you, Logan. So we're going to take you way back to June 30th, 2017. You tweeted, actually, so this was a quote tweet of Abby Jessen, and she said,
Abby.
So Abby said, "What would be a good name for a podcast about UGA football?" And you quote tweeted that, and you said, "For real though, we need a good one, folks." So I don't know if that was related to the Second String or if that was related to something else. But the funny thing is, the name for this podcast came from a response to your tweet.
Really?
So there's a guy.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Sean H. Atlanta Sean, he responded and said, "My God, a podcast." And so I saw that because I followed you back then, and I was like, all right, if I ever have a Georgia podcast, that's the name. And so like I held that in my pocket for years. So you indirectly played a role in the naming of this podcast.
Wow. I never knew that. Now I need all the merchandise I can get my hands on, man. I've already wanted it, but I do feel like I have like somewhat of an ownership stake in this thing. This is fantastic.
Here we go. So
that's cool. You never told me that. That is really cool.
Yeah,
no,
so
that would have been before our podcast, so I don't think that had anything to do with ours. That may have just been a joke around the station or something.
Gotcha. So yeah,
But
so I had to
that's
drop
pretty cool.
that. So if anyone listening also wants any My God Up podcast merchandise, you can go to store.mygodapodcast.com and get that. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. That needs a quick fact check.
What do they advertise with you guys or something? Or? Ding.
I did look. I was hopeful, as we like to say that Kirby is, that the new Scott Howard pronunciation guide would be out. I don't know, Logan. Wonder if you have some inside sources, any intel on what's going on there. They've actually totally removed last year's. They're gone. There's nothing right now. Yeah.
I haven't checked that. He must be in the process. That is one of their preseason things. So I guess they're doing it right now. Okay. I would assume so. But my big question is, how do you pronounce Eric or Eric Gilbert? That's what we want to know every single year.
I mean, I do still have that one.
Will he do Robert Beal again?
Yeah. So I said we have a smaller soundboard. So we do have
Eric Gilbert.
And
that's what he says.
Yeah, that's what he says. He says Eric is what Scott said.
So. Eric. Yeah,
Robert.
And that's always been my thing. But apparently he told media at one point that his mom calls him Eric.
Yeah.
So that just threw a curveball into everything. So I have no idea what to call the man.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, wow.
I always find it so fascinating, like with these guys that will like, it often happens that it's like their senior year and they're like, hey, by the way, you've all been mispronouncing my name for 4 years. You know, like Max Jean Guillet was my Quincy. Yes, yeah. Quincy Mauger and Max Jean Guillet. Those are my like the quintessential examples.
Yeah.
You know, it's better than those sound bites. Logan and Walker's homemade, those ugly, yellow,
nasty,
ugly.
Ugh. I thought he was going to say the homemade chicken pot pie, and I got nervous, Walker. I didn't know if
big Dominican lunch.
That's what I'm talking about.
You guys using that soundbite so many times like forced me to look it up. I had never seen that skit until I heard. I was like, "What?" So I searched Kenan Thompson and found it. Now I've seen it.
It's one of my favorites, and I'm a longtime SNL viewer. But when Kenan Thompson does his impression of Big Papi, that is just gold. It's laugh out loud funny.
It is pretty funny. That's definitely one of the good things about Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. I've almost given up on that show many times, but I've stuck with it for 30 years, so I'll stay around for a few more.
For sure.
I was going to say, this may very well be great timing to get everyone together, as if this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe or something. We're combining podcasts here.
That's right.
You guys, I know, saw the coaches poll is out today. What are your thoughts on Georgia at number 3?
Typical.
Utter disrespect.
I was hoping that we would have a little disrespect so that Kirby could grind that into everybody's head. Rat poison for Alabama.
I'll shoot real straight, man. Like I'm gonna be bluntly honest here. Like Alabama's really, really good this year, and they have potential to have a very, very unbeatable special season right now. And I implore, and I talk about this a lot on my show, and just to kind of like bring it down to a serious point every once in a while, it's like, look, no teams have ever repeated as college football playoff champions. Not even Alabama. They would like to make you think they've won every single one of them. But not a single time have they gone and done it a back-to-back time. It's just, It's difficult, man. It's really, really difficult. And in Ohio State also, the two teams that are ranked ahead of Georgia in that coaches poll, I've referenced them many times. I'm a big believer in C.J. Stroud. That dude is going to be a top 1, top 2, maybe 3 pick in the NFL draft coming up. And that guy, I can't say his last name. Is it Njigba, the guy that caught like 300 and something yards in the Rose Bowl? He's the real deal Howard. Too. So Scott Howard will tell us exactly. He's the real deal too. So look, it's Georgia being number 3. I think is accurate. I mean, I think Georgia's as good as anybody else in the country, and I think Georgia is one of like 5 teams that have a legit shot at winning the national championship. But it's not anti-Georgia for a Georgia fan to admit that Alabama's going to be really tough to beat this year, and Ohio State's going to be tough to beat. And I think I told Walker this when he was on 960 The Ref a couple days ago, that I've never told on air before. I think it's something I've just kind of had in my pocket for a while. But when we won the national championship, and I'm talking the moments right after, like the tears are still on your face. The joy, the elation is something I've never felt in my life. I looked at my father-in-law, who was in the same state I was, and I just laughed and I said, Alabama's going to beat our ass next year, like in the SEC championship game. I told him, and it was fun in games, but like I'm not expecting that. But are you going to be shocked if Alabama does like take all of its year-long aggression? Guys like me that rub it in their face on Twitter every chance I get. I mean, do you think Nick Saban's going to just roll over that game? Like I'm very afraid of Alabama this year. I'm not going to lie about it.
I mean, I think
let's do a quick fact check.
I'm terrified.
Carter,
sorry, Carter.
Carter, is your quick fact check like how many receivers are going to be healthy when they play Georgia? Because as we know, that's a key factor.
And that is a key. Assuming both teams are healthy, it's going to be one heck of a game. But I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a Roll Tide fan here, but they're good.
This is not a rebuilding year for Alabama.
I was just about to say, can we get confirmation? Is this a rebuilding year, Coach?
If it's a rebuilding year, it doesn't count.
No.
Yeah.
And if you have two receivers, it really doesn't count.
No. I love that Kirby. Someone asked Kirby about like rebuilding, and he said something to the effect of like, no one's going to say that before a year. Maybe they'll say it after the end of the year or something like. So I don't know if he had even heard what Saban had said at that point, but yeah, I think 3 is a good spot. Honestly, like for me personally, like I fall in I'm not superstitious, but I'm little stitious, and I don't want to be number 1 preseason. Like we saw how that worked out in 2008. So 3 somewhere below 1, maybe a little disrespected. I think my bigger question is like 4 and 5, like. Should Clem and his son really be 4, and should Notre Dame be 5? Those are what I kind of question.
Here are my thoughts on that. I think Notre Dame at 5 is just strictly only to hype up that Week 1 game against Ohio State.
Yeah,
that's the only reason they're there. I don't think they deserve to be there. I'm not a big believer in Notre Dame, and Clem and his son certainly have the material to be a top 5 team. Their schedule is so bad year after year after year. I think that's just kind of a placeholder for them saying, hey, this is probably a playoff team because, they're pretty darn good and they've got a weak schedule. Let's set them up there.
Yeah.
If Clem and his son is going to be legit, and they very well could be, but it's going to take progression from DJ Uiagalelei, who we had to learn to say his name this time last year.
Let's do a quick fact check.
Thank you, Carter. I appreciate But even after we got done sacking him 7 times in Charlotte, like he still struggled a little bit. He did not look like their generational quarterbacks that won them championships in the past. I mean, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, they were special. I'm not sure he's that level of special at all, but the fact that their defensive line is pretty much all back, and Brian Brzee, who, my God, I wish he had committed to Georgia when he almost did. If he's back healthy too, I mean, they've got a legit defensive line that I think they were hurting a little bit last year. But like Walker just said, their schedule, they go to Notre Dame in November. Okay, I'm also not a believer in Notre Dame. I think after that, their next biggest test might be Wake Forest. How fun does that sound? If your biggest test was Wake Forest on the schedule every year. So, yeah, I am partially expecting them to be back in the college football playoff conversation and very much a possibly undefeated team going into the playoffs. So, I don't know. But when they play someone like an Alabama or Ohio State or even a Georgia, I think the real Clemson will show up then. I'm not sure they're much of a chance to win at all. But, yeah, they're going to be a factor this year. No doubt about it. But
I was saying I've got an Entatainments type crossover thing for what you just mentioned. So you mentioned Clemson and Wake Forest, and I don't know, did you guys ever watch the show QB1? It's the show that Fromm was on, that Fields was on.
It's been a while.
I remember.
I've watched some of Fromm.
Haven't watched since Fromm was on.
In the last season, the kid at Wake, and I'm forgetting his name, Sam Hart, I think. He and Louis Aguilera were both on the same. They were on the same season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. It's a good show. I haven't watched since that. That was the last season I watched.
Not convincing me to buy tickets, man. I've got a sister that lives just outside of Winston-Salem. A few years ago, this would have been the night that Rodrigo kicked the walk-off field goal at Kentucky. So 2016.
Okay.
That was also the same night that Alabama and LSU played as number 1 and 2. And we're at this bar in Winston-Salem. We're the only people in the bar that are asking to watch the Georgia-Kentucky game. We had to fight tooth and nail to get one of the TVs changed over there. But I say that to say this, that there was a game in Winston-Salem that day. I want to say it was Louisville was at Wake Forest. I could be wrong on that. We spent the afternoon walking around downtown Winston-Salem while the game was going on. You would have had no clue that a Power 5 football game was taking place a mile away from you. It was just the most non-football city you've ever been in while a game was happening. I mean, it's just the way that the culture is up there. It was beautiful. It was a great fall day, but no, it's
is it kind of like Atlanta? Is it kind of like Atlanta at the end of November?
Yeah, pretty much. Bobby died, baby. But no, Wake's not gonna be a factor this year. I just don't see that happening. Oops, sorry. Let me mute that.
Okay. You also have North Carolina State visiting him and his son, and I think Miami goes to Death Valley near the end of the season. Again, not quite an SEC schedule, but there's a few bumps there. And I guess really what I think about their ranking is if you were going to rank the top 10 teams as far as who do I think are the best 10 teams, I think Clemson's a little further down. I think they're 7 or 8. But your chance of making the college football playoff, I do put them in the top 4. I think they've got a very good chance.
Yeah,
I don't want to see them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do you want to see them in the Peach Bowl, Logan? No.
No.
I guess so. One of the things that we did right when the season wrapped was we basically called it the national championship victory lap, and I'm still not totally over that. So if you could indulge us in a bit of the victory lap, we could take yet another one. Yes. I know Walker, you were there, right? I mean, I was there, so I guess I don't know, just your thoughts on the experience of being there in person a little bit.
It was my wife's not here, right? The most incredible day of my life. No, it was even more exciting for me because we didn't really plan on going. I actually wanted to go to Miami. That was my whole plan. I wanted to go to the Orange Bowl, and we just couldn't make it work. And so I'm a little bummed out about that, but whatever. Okay, now we're playing for national championship. I'm ready to watch the game. In 48 hours before the game, my buddy texts me and says, do you want to just drive up to Indianapolis? Mm-hmm. And my thought was my wife will never allow this to happen. And if she does, my boss will certainly never allow this to happen.
Yeah.
So I told him I'll try, but I knew that it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, funny enough, the wife is like, yeah, sure, go.
Happy wife, happy life.
There you go,
Carter,
man. There you go.
Carter, you're gonna make it, man.
I go to the boss who I know is going to say no to this whole plan, and he's like, yeah, cool, go.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if you guys watch Friends, but there's an episode that I love where Chandler has to go to Yemen to get away from Janice, his girlfriend, and he's getting on the plane, and he just looks at her and he says, I guess I'm going to Yemen. And that was me getting in the car. I guess I'm going to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And there we go. We're off. And we bought tickets literally 3 hours before kickoff. And we went to a bar and spent a few hours before the game with a lot of really cool fans from both schools. Just had a great time. And then obviously when Keely Ringo returns the pick 6 and you know that Georgia's going to win, it was such an incredible feeling. It's indescribable. I mean, people, because I'm yelling at the field, I'm screaming, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And then I turn around to look at my friends, and there's 4 or 5 people in my section just sobbing, just crying. Like one guy was just sitting down in his seat. He wasn't even standing up. He was crying. And I'm like, oh, this is what it's all about. It was amazing.
Did you say when Keely scored, you knew Georgia was going to win, man? Speak for yourself, dude. 15 points, 54 seconds left. That was an eternity, dude. You knew Alabama was going to come back and send that thing to overtime.
No, I didn't.
Carter, what happened when Keely intercepted the pass in our house?
let's just say we went outside and got the fireworks ready.
There you go.
That's right.
I say that half kidding, by the way. Like, if you go back and rewatch it, I think there was an injury on the ensuing kickoff. So it was like a little delay there, which Walker and all the guys in Indianapolis, I'm sure, was just an extended party. But I think right after that, I'm crying. I'm elated too. But, like, Alabama all of a sudden got like a 15-yard gain, 20-yard gain. And I'm sitting there and they keep getting out of bounds. Like, no time's coming off the clock. And I for just a brief second there, I put my serious face back on, and I was like, all right, guys, it's not over. We got to stop them right here. Yeah. And then I think
they got Atlanta luck with us.
Right. Exactly. I'm scarred, man. I'm literally traumatized. But I think once that intentional grounding call happened, and you knew it was going to be a miracle of all miracles, if anything was going to happen, then the joy came over me as well. But just for a brief second there, I did have that moment where I was like, guys, it's not over yet. The clock does not say 0. So it was just a brief glimpse, but that's just being a Georgia fan, man.
Yeah, no, that was me, like, when Young let go of the ball that Keeley picked off, because at that point it was only 8 points, right? And it's like, if you're reading the script that we've seen before over and over again, they're going to come down, they're going to score, they get a 2-point conversion, and then we're going to overtime. Like, that's been the script how many times? And that's where, like, the flipping of that script. And that, so Walker, I was a little different than you. Like, I initially freaked out right at the pick and was hugging my dad. And then I looked back at the field and he was crossing the 50 and I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's actually going to score. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that. I guess I too bit of an old man was thinking he would just go down like Kirby, even though we know that wasn't the right play at this point. But it's still, I actually, like, today was watching, went down the rabbit hole of, like, fan reaction videos and watching videos. And, like, Logan, you always post it's been this many weeks since, and, like, I still can't get through said type video without, like, my wife happens to be cutting onions kind of deal. Still.
Yeah, it was sawdust. There's sawdust in here from Logan churning up the national championship logos.
I'm doing that for at least 52 weeks. We'll see what happens this season if we're going to extend that or not. But I'm giving it the year of the champion, no doubt about it. What I love about the way the national championship ended, though, when you go back to think about this, so when Brock Bowers scored to make it, what was the score? Help me out. 20, was it 26? What was it? 26-18,
I think.
Yep. Yeah, 26-18. So it's 8 points, like Jim just pointed out. You knew right then and there, with a minute and a half, about 2.5 minutes, whatever it was left on the clock, you knew up by 8 that if Georgia is going to win this game, they're going to have to do something defensively. Yeah. Either they're going to stop Alabama on 4th down, or Alabama's going to score, and then you have to stop the 2-point conversion. If you don't do that, you're going to have to make a defensive play in overtime, or Keely Ringo could just pick 6 and put it all to bed right there. But either way, the 4 scenarios that included Georgia winning that game, every single one of them included the defense doing something. And what was our whole team based on this past year? I mean, it was a defensive team, so you felt pretty good about that.
The defense we trust.
Exactly, man. So I love that. And then what you mentioned a second ago, Jim, with Keely not going down, I mean, I've said this 150 times on various platforms by now, but it was so incredibly symbolic of what Georgia has needed to do for years now, and that's keep your foot on the gas when you feel safe, but you're not. Keep your foot down. So I'm guilty, just like Kirby Smart, of yelling at the TV saying, Keely, go down, go down, go down. But in hindsight, man, some of those things that you're just convinced of, but you can't prove it. I'm 1,000% convinced if Keely caught the ball at the 26-yard line, saw Kirby, and took a knee right there, we're going to have to punt the ball again because they had all 3 timeouts. Kirby was going to go conservative and run as safely as possible. They were going to use their timeouts, and with probably about 45 seconds, we have to punt the ball and stop the Heisman Trophy winner again. So if I ever get a chance to, and I assume one of these days down the road I'll get a chance to, like, have a brief conversation with Keely, I've already thought about the first thing I'm going to say is thank you for ignoring the coach and running that ball into the end zone. And if he asks why, we'll go into a deeper conversation. But, I mean, it's just it was very symbolic of what we had to do for years, and that's just go, go, go until the clock hits 0.
Let's get a quick Fact check.
Ding, baby. Thank you, Carter. I appreciate that.
You know what would be
If you can't tell, we listen.
Showdown.
If you can't tell, we actually do listen to the second string.
Carter came in with the best line of the night.
what would be fun is if Georgia could repeat, and then we could get 2 national championships.
That's what I'm talking about.
2 national championships.
There we go.
And it'll come. I implore and I beg Georgia fans that I talk to in real life and even on air sometimes is like, don't get so caught up in the notion that we have to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
I
Don't
said it
get that
earlier,
greedy.
like Georgia full on has as good of a chance as anybody to do it. But Alabama fans, Florida fans, Clemson fans, heck, even South Carolina fans, they cannot wait for Georgia to fail at some point this season and not go back-to-back. And they'll act like that just erases all the good feelings that we have. Y'all just talked about crying watching these Keely Ringo reaction videos. Like, if Georgia doesn't win it this year, okay, we'll go back and try it again in 2023 with a darn good team and a good chance to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think any realistic Georgia fan like us, the 5 of us talking here, I don't think any of us are going to slip back into that like drought depression mode at all. And if you do, then you're new here. I mean, that's just the way I see it. So, and I'm not trying to play defeatist before the season starts. I like I said, we've got a shot. But just like the Braves, I don't want to slip back into bad feelings if a miracle doesn't happen again.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like Walker was saying earlier. I mean, not even the mighty Nick Saban has repeated in a playoff era. So I mean, it would literally be something that has never been done before if we do it. So yeah, those talking points, you need to let them all roll off. And like the craziest thing to me is Alabama fans. It was before this season. It was crazy to me, their obsession with us, because they would always talk about Georgia, and it's like, well, you always beat us. Like, we are your Charlie Brown. Like, why do you care? Like, why do you talk about Georgia so much? And then now, I guess I kind of see, because like, I guess they were afraid of what would happen, and now they just can't deal with it at all. We hear the excuses and the injury stuff, and even with we like him, but I did want to ask you, Logan, because I know you got to hang out with Marler a little bit at SEC Media Days, and like he's like one of the kings of it these days.
He'll admit, if you get a chance to talk to him outside of the Twitter world, he'll admit first and foremost he likes stirring up things. I mean, like, it's just fun.
Clearly.
He, like we, I think, really do appreciate the silliness of college football. Yeah. We appreciate the chaoticness of fandom. It's just the ingredients that make the sport so wonderful, and especially in the SEC. And yeah, he's a diehard Bama guy, but I want to say, and I don't know what his connection is to Georgia. Maybe either an ex or a current girlfriend of his is a Georgia grad or was a Georgia grad one. So he's got a little bit of a connection there. But no, I like Chris Martin. Vern Funquist is actually a good dude, even though he is the king of excuses. And I don't know. Let me say this. Does he listen to this show?
I don't know. He follows the show, and I've talked to him. We've like DM'd with him and stuff. I don't know that. I don't know if he listens or not.
I'm going to drop an Easter egg on My God, a Podcast real quick. This is the first place in public I've ever mentioned this, okay? So if he listens, he'll know. If he doesn't, then it'll get to him eventually, okay? I don't know if y'all saw a couple months ago, about a month ago, I actually sent him a piece of woodwork from my shop. Did y'all see him tweet that?
Oh, nice.
So I actually made him, without being asked to. Y'all have seen some of the woodwork stuff I dabble in, I hope, on Twitter. I did this cutout of Alabama with the Alabama A on it, which is a nice, beautiful piece of art, and I mailed it to him. And I wrote in a little card the entire Eli Gold call of the Keely Ringo pick six. And I said, thanks for being a fun Alabama fan to interact with. Here's a piece of art for your misery and your loss. Okay. It was something just kind of neat like that. Yeah. What he doesn't know, unless he listens to My God, a Podcast, and I've been saving this for a while, I've got the pictures and the video. That thing is wood glued together like you wouldn't believe. Like, you would have to break it to make it come off. Mm-hmm. On the back of the Alabama, it says #excuses, and then it says 33-18 go Dogs. So if he ever really, really makes us mad, I can pull that video out and show him that's been on his wall for months now, and it just fits with his mantra. But I love he is a good guy. I like him, but I'm playing the long game troll here if I ever need to pull that out sometime.
I like it. That's awesome.
But he's a good dude. I like me some Chris.
Yeah, no, we
level.
We like Chris.
So he did tweet it out though, Logan.
But the picture of the woodwork, you mean?
Yeah,
well, I've not shown anybody the excuses part of it. But he did tweet out a long time ago the picture. I think he tweeted a picture of the art.
Yeah, dude, the woodworking is quite impressive. I very much like the one that you just posted. That was, I know you did the Braves one that was painted, and then you did. I think there was the Georgia one that was just all stained.
The national championship.
Yeah.
I did a logo that was pure stain. Let me see. I don't know how good this will come up, but that's that's next to each other. One of them just pure stain, wood stain. The other is just like fully painted. So. Yeah, that's just out of scrap wood, man. It's a little hobby I've got.
You got your Etsy shop set up?
Yeah, seriously.
You know, the one okay, so here's the thing, like with you guys and people like on Twitter, if someone saw it and says, "Hey, I really want one of those. How do I get one?" I can swap DMs. I can get, a piece of artwork, but every single thing I make like that is copyrighted. So I can't like open up a full-on shop. And Georgia would have it pulled down immediately. I mean, I know the guys that actually run that department, and I'm friends with them, so I'm not going to go behind their back and make a shop and hope for the best. Like, I can do it under the table, but I don't have the licensing to actually like mass produce those things and sell it with taxes attached to it.
Right.
So
fair enough.
But
fair.
Yeah, I don't
know. You are a borderline capital J.
Exactly. I don't know. I've thought about exploring what it would cost to get the trademark, because I have no doubt in my mind if I spent a year building dozens of these and a lot of the other things I make, I know without a doubt I could set up a shop at Athfest and sell out in one day. Like I think it'd be easy to do.
Why at
But
Athfest?
it's just, is it worth getting the trademark or not?
Yeah, think bigger, Logan. Think bigger.
Yeah, than Athfest? There's nothing bigger than Athfest.
You need a merch store.
We got,
and then you can sell.
I really wanted one of those woodworks.
Why don't I do this? Why don't we put Carter and his entire class to work, and I'll teach him how to use a scroll saw.
There you go.
There you go.
We'll pay him like
I'll send him to Camp Logan. I'll send him to Camp Logan. You were talking about how bored you were. I'll send the Carter to Camp Logan.
Perfect. $2 an hour. We'll work from sun up to sundown, and we'll get these things pumped out quick, man.
I may have to ask you for some tips, Logan, because I'm trying to work on something right now that, like, I have the idea. It's just the execution. So my idea is it's going to be an outdoor coffee table. I'm going to use pallet wood as the top, like the strips, and then I've got a stencil to cut out the state of Georgia. Right underneath that is going to be Creature Comforts beer cans that I've cut open and like laid down, and then do some kind of like clear coat. That's the idea. Sweet. But I don't know. We'll see if I ever actually do it. I have a bunch of beer cans in the garage to do that. So my wife, eventually I have to build it, or else they're going to go in recycling.
Awesome.
So I don't know. I guess like what is, we talked about, repeating, not repeating, et cetera, but how, I don't know, I guess like how high are you guys on the season? What's your season outlook for the Dogs?
Who's our biggest threat, Walker?
I think the biggest threat, I think Oregon's the best team on the schedule, but the biggest threat to me is you've got 4 games in a row where you play the nasty, repulsive Gator.
Ugly. Yellow.
Stinking.
Nasty. Wretched.
So you go Florida, Tennessee, and then you've got back-to-back games at Mississippi State and at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Which Mississippi State's just a weird team and a weird place to go there in Starkville. And I actually am pretty high on Kentucky this year. I think they're going to be pretty good. So that 4-game stretch scares me that you might drop one of those. Not that any of those teams are better than Georgia. I don't think they are. I think it's just a tough stretch.
Most of those are at home, though.
Yeah,
Auburn, but we all know Auburn's
Well, Florida's never at home, right? As has been much repeated and discussed.
Mike Griffith is angry about it.
We could talk about that. You guys, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, Kentucky's on the road and Mississippi State's on the road. So actually,
Mississippi State was the one that we talked about.
But of the 4 games Walker just mentioned, the only one that's at home is Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where if Georgia were to drop a game, and this, if you lose one game in the regular season, you're going to see Alabama at the end. And you know how good they are right now. So even that one regular season loss makes you nervous, makes you squirrely about your chances to make the college football playoff. The hope is that we're going to run the table again and go 12-0, but that's a lot easier said than done, Logan.
Yeah, there's a reason that undefeated regular seasons are so rare. I mean, even Alabama only has, one? I think Nick Saban's only had one undefeated season, if I'm saying that right. That was 2015, and then 2020, but throw the whole COVID thing out for real.
Yeah.
But even Alabama doesn't win 12 straight games in the regular season with an SEC schedule regularly at all. There's a reason we had to go back to, 82? Is that the last time we had an undefeated regular season prior to this season? But like Walker said, I mean, there are a couple games you could circle and say, well, if it's going to happen, that could happen. But I fully expect, and I'm kind of anticipating Georgia going into the SEC championship game at 12-0. Again, I just don't see anybody on this schedule that's going to be good enough any given day to go up against what I think is going to be our best offense under Kirby Smart, and then a defense that's going to be a different defense, but it's still going to be pretty darn good. I mean, we know that, and I don't think that's homer to say that Georgia's going to have another good defense. That's real.
Yeah.
But I expect that. But yeah, I guess if I had to throw one out there, I'm with Walker. The trip to Kentucky in late November, which is later on the schedule than normal, and if y'all have ever been up there, it can get real cold in that November time. So weather may or may not be a factor attached to it. But I mean, that's the one that scares me the most if I had to pick one that was going to be a loss. But even then, you're sitting really, really nice as everybody else in the East is no doubt going to cannibalize each other. You're going to play in Atlanta this year. If you don't, that's going to be a disappointment. But it's I don't know. I at the risk of getting a little bit too confident, I think we will go 12-0 again for the first 12 games of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, even if the schedule definitely sets up nicely.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, to pull Mississippi State and Auburn from the West, that's a dream. I mean, that's fine. I mean, Auburn is not going to be great this year. Mississippi State, I agree with Walker. It's a weird team with a little bit of a weird offense, but if I don't see it. I don't see Mississippi State being good enough to beat this Georgia football team. And think back to 2010, the last time we went out there, they were one of those 4 losses in a row to start the season after the cupcake win when Aaron Murray was a freshman. It was just a weird team all around. So this is a new era.
Do you think, to that end about the new era, do you think that we've gotten past and gotten over the Mark Richt era hump of laying at least one egg?
Up until last year, if I'm saying this right, Kirby Smart got his butt kicked by an SEC West team every single year up until last year. I'm not sure that team was on the schedule. I mean, Auburn wasn't great last year. Who else was from the West last year? I'm drawing a blank here. Arkansas. They were a good team, but Georgia showed up in a huge way for what I think is the best noon kick in the history of Sanford Stadium. It was awesome. But I would like to think that may be behind us where you just expect that. Doesn't mean it can't happen. College football is a funny, funny sport. And we love college football Saturdays as a whole. And a lot of the games that we watch that Georgia's not involved in, we like to watch it because there's a chance something crazy is going to happen. It's all fun and games until it happens to your school, and then you want to have a congressional hearing as to why did it happen. It certainly is out there, but I don't expect it anymore.
I think you mentioned on the podcast. I think it was the most recent episode last week. 'Cause I was listening to it and I was like, he's right. Like, if you were to flip teams, if you were Mississippi State or if you were Auburn, like, would you trade? And I'll go even more specific. Would you trade our players? Like, would you trade the 2 lines, the offensive line and the defensive line? And I don't know that there's anybody on our schedule that can hang with either one of those 2 units. And frankly, that's where most of the games are won. So I don't know. I think that we've moved beyond the, that Mark Richt #1 team in the country, and then all of a sudden they lose to South Carolina or they lose to Tennessee on the road. Like I just feel it feels different. It feels like we've gotten over that hump.
If Tennessee's going to be what they're getting the hype right now, that what did someone say today? The unstoppable offense of Tennessee. It's like, well, did they grow an offensive line over the offseason? Did they grow a defensive line to compete with any other game? I mean, there's a lot of these teams out there that think back to the miseries that we used to have in Jacksonville during the Spurrier era, during the Urban Meyer era, and even sprinkled a few games in. There were a lot of times that we Georgia fans convinced ourselves that we are just one player away from competing and beating those guys. But reality was they were just a better team than we were. I mean, mostly around. It's we have to realize that other team, Tennessee, their fans have convinced themselves they are just a play away from beating the Dogs this year. I'm with John. Show me the offense and defensive line, then we'll play some football.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how that offense functions this year. I mean, there's like kind of two sides of that coin. Like usually, a lot of teams do take a big jump in year two. I mean, we saw it with Rick, we saw it with Kirby. Like we've seen it with our own eyes. But that offense was so like new and different, and now it's not new and different anymore. Like we've all seen it, and Georgia figured it out after a quarter, right? So now what are we going to do? What's everyone going to do with it after seeing it for an entire season? So.
Can't hear you over my World Series.
Oh, man.
Nice.
Holy cow. Is that the giveaway from Truist?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got one of those early this season, too. I love that thing.
Man, that's
pretty cool.
That's even better than my 2008 SEC tournament basketball tournament replica ring that I have.
There you go. Look at that, Carter. Look at that, man.
Look what I also got from the game.
Did you catch it?
Yes, sir.
Holy cow.
I literally, he literally came back and was like, told you, Dad. Like, he told me, he's like, I'm going to catch a ball. I was like, Carter, 99% of the time you go to the game, you're never going to catch a ball.
Yeah, but this time we were sitting on the green.
Tell me the story. How did you get it?
So, basically, the left fielder of the Giants, usually it would be Mike Yastrzemski at the game I was going to, but it was this random, Vasquez guy that I saw him at bat, and I realized he was in left field, and he was the only player that was throwing balls into the crowd, and I was in the first row of the burn in left field, and I got his attention. He didn't throw to me the first time, but the next time I got his attention, I was waving my glove, and I'm just saying his last name, acting like I know who he is.
You're my favorite player.
And then
I'm gonna guess you've watched some Zach Hampel YouTube, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's exactly what I was watching before. I was strategizing.
He's a fun watch, man. He's he gets some good tips to get some base. I used to do that when at Turner Field. I used to bring a cup with me, Carter.
The cup trick?
Yeah, well, where you drop it down, you put weights on it, and you get the balls that are in the no man's land area. I used to be one of the first few people that had that. I got 6 balls one time.
Yeah, but usually at what happens at Truist Park, there's not really that many gaps except for in the bullpen. But in right field, that's too deep to use it. But in left field, there's usually people in the bullpen. So it's definitely a chance I would not want to take.
Well, take advantage of being a kid. You'll get balls. Walker actually steals balls from kids when he goes to Braves games. It's ridiculous, man.
It's a great joy of mine. Yes.
Robbing kids of their moment. I know.
Do it for the kids.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like Trick Daddy.
I mean, we are primarily a Georgia football podcast, but I still I still cannot believe that both teams won it in the same dang season. You're at that point where you're I mean, is it possible for both of us to win? That's still mind blowing. And I am wearing my State of Champions T-shirt tonight with both of them on.
Well, throw that into what we said earlier about these good feelings aren't going to go away anytime soon, no matter what happens. I mean, the Braves probably not going to repeat as World Series champions. The Bulldogs, the math will tell you they probably won't repeat. They very well could. Yeah. But the fall of 21 is something that we will always, always, always have. And I don't know if you've ever seen me post pictures of my man cave, my shed, and whatnot. And I've decked it out with 21 stuff. And my wife makes the joke. She's like, "What's going to happen when we win another one?" I'm like, and then somebody said something recently which stuck with me a lot. Is that you'll go into a business every once in a while, they frame their first dollar bill. It's on the wall. It's like, hey, the very first money we made, here it is. I hope Georgia wins 15 more championships in my lifetime, but this one, I don't think I'll ever remove the flag in my workshop from this one because it was so special that the hero's journey of getting there and all the misery that everybody on this podcast right now went through in our lifetimes to get to this point. I mean, look, I'm not going to call anybody's age out here, Walker, but some of us weren't alive the last time that Georgia won this thing, and I don't want to put anybody on blast for still having that connection to the 1980 team, but I don't. I have zero connection to that team whatsoever. There is no nostalgia when you talk about Herschel Walker running the ball. I love that people have that. I don't. So This is my team now. 2021 is my 1980. I no longer have to pretend like a day that happened before I was born is the greatest day of my life. So my conversation for the next remainder of my career is always going to gravitate to 2021. I love the history of the program, but I really don't care much about the 1980 team anymore because I have my own.
1980 who, dog?
Yeah. Exactly. Let's do a quick fact check.
Walker, you were a senior in high school when Herschel Walker ran that ball in 1980.
Wow. This got dark.
Boom, roasted.
No, I was 4 years old.
Emotional damage.
I was not exactly a college football fan yet at the age of 4 in 1980. I started probably watching college football when I was about 10. So I missed all of that. I missed the Herschel Walker era. What I got, unfortunately, was the Ray Goff, Jim Donnan era in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we had unfortunately more bad days than good during the 90s. And then, Mark kind of turned the program around, in my opinion. And we still had struggles, as you mentioned earlier, those inexplicable losses that would pop up from time to time. The last one I could think of like that would be South Carolina at home a few years ago. I don't know if Kirby's susceptible to that. And I was questioning when Kirby came to Athens, like, is this guy really the guy that everybody thought he was going to be? But you look at what he's done, not only recruiting, but mentoring and motivating. I mean, listen to that guy talk, and I want to go out there and play. I mean, Logan always says, I want to run through a wall when I hear a Kirby Smart halftime speech. And that's as much as we love Mark, that's something that he was lacking from time to time. So the program is just in great hands right now. I think there are more good days to come. Is it this year? It certainly could be. I think Georgia is on the short list of teams that could be in the college football playoff this year. Right now you got Alabama and Ohio State. I think have two of those spots probably locked up already as we sit here in August. But that means there's two more available.
How do you rank Ohio State above Georgia, though? Like that's well, going back to the rankings, but like
you go, Jason. You're high on the Bucks.
No, I think it's what they did in the Rose Bowl and just dismantled Utah. And C.J. Stroud looked like a. If you voted Heisman after the season as opposed to before the playoff, I think C.J. Stroud probably would have won it over Bryce Young. I think, and they're always going to have that media lore. I mean, and Walker said something earlier I fully agree with. These preseason rankings, a lot of it does have to do with hyping up a particular game that may be played early in the season. And that Ohio State Notre Dame thing is, they want a lot of eyes on that, and they're going to get it. But I don't know. Not that I fully agree with it, but I get why they're putting Ohio State so high right now. But I don't know. I think they're going to be one of those two spots that Walker just said, though. I definitely don't see anybody in the Big Ten just stepping up and being better right now.
Yeah. Well, and they're sexy, right? I mean, it's the offense. Like, I know that's what everyone wants. Which leads me to my question is, can the Georgia offense be sexy? With the mailman, we don't have that beautiful, beautiful man, but we do have the Mailman. Can this be the sexiest Georgia offense of the Kirby Smart era?
You mean Staquavius?
Staquavius.
If you don't think Stetson Bennett is sexy, then I don't want to be friends with you guys anymore.
Oh, we love the Mailman.
His fade. Oh my gosh.
That's a swag, man. No, I think this can be a good team, and I know that offensively, I love the offensive line. Yeah, even the two deep. I mean, I like a lot of the depth of this offensive line. I think the running backs will be just fine. I think Kendall Milton is poised for a really good breakout year. If Arik or Eric, whoever you say his name, Gilbert, if he proves to be what we think he is, I mean, that tight end room is just stupid ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think the wide receivers are going to be just fine. I'm looking forward to A.D. Mitchell in year 2. I'm looking forward to, I guess y'all probably read the practice reports the last couple of days. Dominic Blaylock, is he maybe back? It sounds like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's Kyrus Jackson. There are some dudes on the wide receiving core that I think are legit, even without Jermaine Burton. So I said it earlier. I'll say it again. I think this may be the best offense under Kirby's regime. And you put that in addition to a good defense, it's going to be hard to beat us for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't know, maybe we're literally looking too much into it, but I think there is a little bit to this Staquavius thing. I do think he's going to play a little bit more relaxed. I think he's got a little national championship swag to him.
He's in the weight room.
Exactly. Oh, he looks good. He looks real good.
He looks sharp.
So I think he knows what weapons he has. So maybe you'll see him have a breakout season like we've been waiting on for a while. So I don't know, man. I'm high on this offense big time.
The comparisons that I've heard a lot in the last 2 weeks are this is Joe Burrow-esque offense that Georgia has a chance to have.
Yeah.
And Stet plays that way. You know, we call him Stet the Jet for a reason. I mean, he's got that ability to get out of trouble and make plays with his legs. And he certainly has all the weapons available to him. I'm with all you guys on the offensive line. I'm very high on that, especially if you think Tate Ratledge is going to be a factor this year. And Van Pran is that's my guy right there.
Yeah.
I'm a Van Pran fan.
I'm a Broderick guy, man. Broderick Jones, dude, is the real deal.
Walker, are you saying we played without some players that were injured? That can't be right.
What?
No. I told
we were full strength.
I said this last year. You give me a healthy Dominic Blaylock and George Pickens, and we'll give you Williams and Mechie, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean,
yeah. Someone on the last episode asked the question. I'm curious what you guys would think. Like, what player from last year would you take forward into this year?
If you could bring one guy back, that's gone.
Bring one guy back, yeah.
I mean,
Pickens.
for a person, go ahead, Walker. You start.
No, that's it. I got a one-word answer. Pickens.
Pickens. Yeah. Jordan Davis was special, man. I mean, what he brought just to the leadership and size and everything like that. That's one of those. Anybody that makes one of those like all-time UGA teams and they leave Jordan Davis off, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that
Mount Rushmore. He's on your Mount Rushmore.
I think he is, man. I really do. I would keep him as a lifetime contract and just get paid what you would in the NFL, but you stay with your college team. I'm all about just keeping Jordan forever, man.
Yeah, those
like
beautiful man.
The Tennessee quarterbacks are not safe with George Pickens on the sideline, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, those were all ones we mentioned, and then we had Nakobe Dean was another mention, which was the pick of our guest last week, which, by the way, is a 960 The Ref frequent caller, the Dogfather. We had the Dogfather on last week.
Yeah. Love me some JT, man. He's a good dude. How many TikTok followers does JT have? Y'all ever looked at his TikTok?
Yeah, that's actually how we got synced up with him.
Yeah.
He does. Wait, hold on. He does TikTok?
Oh, my God. He's huge on it.
I think that by the end of the season – by the end of the season, I felt like Nakobe Dean was playing as well as anybody in the country. I'd love to have him back, but for some reason, I'm curious what a healthy George Pickens in a full season with Stet could do, and I think they could put up some video game type numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, the Dogfather's got 134,000 TikTok followers, man.
Is that good?
134,000.
Yeah, we were shocked that he saw like John's comment on one of his videos to be like, "Hey, you want to come on the podcast?"
Yeah, seriously. I literally was expecting him to be like, I don't know how much you want to pay me.
It's awkward. It's an awkward conversation, but a name that Alabama fans don't talk about, and we don't talk about either, and for decent reason. That pass rush that was non-existent in the SEC championship game, Adam Anderson would have been all up in Bryce Young's face.
Yeah.
I hate the way his career at Georgia ended, and that's a whole conversation for a much more serious podcast. But he is a huge loss for the Dogs, what I'm trying to say. Like when he left after, what was it, after the Florida game or whatever, that was a big deal. I thought at the time, I was like, well, there it is. There's the domino. There's the 1,000-pound piano I've been waiting to fall on my head all season. And I thought that was going to kind of start that ripple effect and not have him out there. And gosh, he would have been the 16th draft pick. He would have been the 6th first-round draft pick. All these numbers that are just so incredible that Georgia put up in that aspect would have been even higher. And I think he would have had a huge impact on all the games remaining, and he didn't. But again, we Georgia fans don't really bring his name up often, and Alabama fans don't even know he exists. So it's all, it goes back and forth, man. There's a lot of things that I would have liked for Georgia to have had on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
John, what's the
Walker? So I just dropped a link in the chat to, since we have the most famous podcaster at My God a Podcast. That was one of the first games that he went to as a small child. Last time we had Logan on, we didn't have Walker, so we have a little bit of background on Logan, and we can maybe recap for some of the folks that maybe didn't hear that episode. But Walker, I always ask everybody that comes on, you know, what's your Georgia story? Like what's your tie to UGA?
So my grandfather went to UGA. So we had that family love of the Dogs when I was growing up. And he actually took me to my first game when I was like 2. I have no memory whatsoever of
really
that day at Sanford Stadium in 1978.
Charlie Trippy had a great game that day.
I'm sure it was amazing. I don't know what happened. But yeah, I remember my parents, my grandparents would have these football parties when I was a kid. And I remember one particular Saturday we're playing Auburn, and there's a bunch of people in my living room, and it's just like everybody's hyped up, and there's food, and everybody's having beer, and that music comes on, that CBS football music, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like I want to, whatever this is, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So started watching college football, and obviously mostly the Dogs from there. And then when I was senior in high school, me and some buddies went to a Georgia game, and we got introduced to tailgating. And that was a fun day.
You're like, what's that funny smell coming out of your cup, Dad?
These guys had rented a U-Haul, and in the back of that U-Haul, there was furniture, there was a chandelier, there was a keg. And we showed up, and I was like, I've been doing football all wrong. Like I didn't know this was a part of it.
There's like a lazy Susan in there.
So from that day on, I made it my goal to get to Athens as soon as possible. So my grades were not as good as Logan's. So I had to go to Kennesaw State, go Owls for a few semesters, and then I transferred over to UGA. Diehard Dog ever since.
Nice.
Awesome. So you're a graduate, eh?
Yeah, we finished up there in the late 90s. Were any of you guys alive in the late 90s?
So that's when I got there. So we could have closely overlapped. So I got there in 98. I was there from 98 to 02 because, as I like to say, I redshirted. So.
Okay. So yeah, mine was like 97 to 99. So yeah, we definitely overlapped. And I met my wife around that time. She was at App State in Boone, and I was in Athens. So we were kind of just driving up and down 85, trying to see each other as much as possible. And as soon as I could get her to Athens, I did. And she actually, although she got her undergrad at App State, she got her master's degree at UGA. So she's as much dog as any of us.
Were you in the J school? Did you do J school at Georgia?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Journalism, telecom. Yep.
Okay.
That was my jam. And it led me to this stellar radio career where I get up at 3:15 in the morning and play Tim McGraw records all day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, we got to put Walker to bed soon, man. It's getting late.
Yeah, no,
I was about to say.
I was starting to be cognizant of the time.
No, that's all right. I'm having a good time. Y'all go along.
I was going to say that
You and the
all.
missus still doing good?
What's
what
that?
Carter?
You and the missus still doing good?
Me and the missus have now been married for almost 24 years, and we're doing good. As far as I know, you ask her, she might give you a different answer.
Walker, you guys are y'all season ticket holders?
No.
Okay.
We generally are StubHub ticket buyers. Although I have a friend that is a season ticket holder, so I get stuff from him sometimes if he's not able to go. And we try to go to 3 or 4 games a year. I'm not an every Saturday guy. I love a good Saturday on my couch for about 15 hours watching football on my TV, as Logan knows.
Yeah, that's where I've started to like kind of come around to the noon kickoffs because like even if you go and like Logan, to your point of that like that Arkansas game, like totally put that like I don't worry about it anymore because then like when the game's over, I can go home and watch more football too.
Now, it depends on the game. There's something very, very special about night games in Sanford, but I don't want to have a night game in Sanford against Kent State or Samford or Missouri.
I was just about to say, we'll talk to Jim at Kent State.
Yeah, fair.
September 24th at 12 o'clock, Jim.
My perfect kickoff is at 3:30 in November because the time has changed.
Yes.
So it's a day/night game because those games will always kick off under the lights in the second half. Yep. And the weather's usually good in November. So that is just my perfect scenario. And maybe, hopefully, I'm not kidding about this. I really hope that during the SEC reconfiguration with Texas, Oklahoma, and God knows who else, that if we are going to keep playing Auburn every year, getting them back in November. I'm not a fan of playing them mid-season. That needs to be one of the first things that Greg Sankey accommodates for us.
And they need to play at Georgia 2 years in a row. That also needs to happen.
I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy, man, but that requires.
So Logan's looking forward to Tennessee November 5th, eh?
That potentially down the road, hypothetical, say that stays there. One of these days, it's going to be for the SEC East, and it's going to be a big time atmosphere. And we had this conversation with the ref a couple of days ago, maybe even me and Walker too. I'm sort of stuck in this, sorry for the big word, but a juxtaposition of wanting that Georgia-Tennessee game to be what it used to be.
Yeah.
But that requires them being better, and I'm really enjoying them in the cellar right now and having the worst stretch of their program history.
Yeah.
So I do wish that game meant a lot more. I mean, when people talk right now about the home schedule, like, oh, this home schedule sucks. We've got Tennessee, Auburn, and Tech coming to town. Do that in the 90s? Oh, my God, what an amazing home schedule. Yeah. It's not Georgia's fault. It's Tennessee and Auburn and Tech's fault for being bad versions of themselves right now. So I find trouble holding Georgia accountable for that.
Can you imagine in the 90s playing Florida and Tennessee back-to-back? I mean, that would have been insane back then.
Absolutely.
And that's like
absolutely
Walker, when we were overlapping at Georgia, like that was back when like we hadn't, it was like hard to remember beating Tennessee at that point.
Oh yeah. And if you guys have listened to the podcast, you know that Tennessee is my most hated SEC team, and everybody's got one. It's Auburn for some people. It's Florida for some people. Some people it's Bama. For me, it's Tennessee because for that reason, because they were so good, and Florida and Tennessee were both just miles ahead of us in recruiting in the 90s, and their roster was so much better than ours. And that's how I feel Georgia is now, even though Tennessee and Florida fans right now feel that they are about to turn the corner any second now. I still feel like Georgia has much better material than those two teams. But in the 90s, it was a complete reversal of that. Tennessee is condescending. Their fans are mean-spirited jerks. And we couldn't ever beat them. And we lost to them 9 years in a row, if you can imagine that. And so when we finally did break that streak in 2000 and everyone ran onto the field at Sanford and tore down the goalposts, that was a black eye for some people, but I remember that as a good night.
Well, that's where I have to point out that I was there. I did not run on the field, but John did. So,
oh, good.
Carter's showing you guys the picture that I have framed from that night.
Yes. Yeah. Nice.
John actually carried the goalpost around downtown all night. FYI. He was part of that.
Fantastic.
And thank you.
I was one of those goobers that was literally fighting for my life.
Hey Carter,
I was underneath.
I'll go.
I was underneath the goalpost.
There we go.
There's Chipper.
Bailey?
Champ Bailey's got to be here somewhere.
I'll go get
Champ.
This always happens. We always reach the point of the podcast where we start talking about our dogs. Munson is still asleep at my feet. So
that's what's up. That's what's up.
Murray never comes to the podcast. Only Munson. Munson enjoys
Walker
the podcast.
That's the dog that Walker doesn't love.
She's asleep always.
How do you not love the dog?
I do love my dog.
I don't know, man.
But she knows her place. Lila knows that she's a dog. She doesn't run the house. And Logan thinks that means I don't love her.
Nope.
Yeah, that's how we are with our dogs. John doesn't let his dog run the house either. John's dog is like well trained and well behaved, unlike my dog.
My dog is my dog's. We paid a trainer to train him, and so now he listens. He basically listens to me like unquestionably, but the other people in the house, he does not give two shit. He doesn't care anything about what they say.
Awesome.
Especially my teenager.
I really quick, John, you haven't seen Top Gun yet, have you, Maverick?
I haven't seen. We haven't seen Maverick, and someone's.
I'm bugging him about
Carter's in my ear about it.
Okay. Well, I'll table this conversation. Other than I do, have to point out that I did alert the second string as to who the Jennifer Connelly character was. That it's not. She's not totally random. So no spoilers. But if you watch Top Gun Maverick and you don't understand the connection with the Jennifer Connelly character Penny, come ask me. I'll explain it to you.
It was nice to know that it wasn't just some random love story.
So
it was great, man.
That was a great movie. I loved it. Yeah. I mean, I've seen the original Top Gun like so many times, which is another thing that like instantly drew me to your podcast, that you use the Top Gun song as the opening to the Entatainments, because it's one of my favorites. So
Carter can tell you all about Top Gun because we watched it together and I fell asleep and I was supposed to fast forward during a certain point in that movie and I did not.
Carter had his breath taken away.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Let's just say I saw some stuff that wasn't PG.
Of course. Tom Cruise is a pretty man.
Hey, PG.
He had his breath taken away. That was good.
PG was different in the 80s.
I do appreciate that info because I really thought that since Kelly McGillis wasn't asked to be back, I thought they just plucked Jennifer Connelly's name out of a hat or something, and they were like, "How about you? Random love interest." That's really what I thought was going on there.
Yeah, I actually like inadvertently figured it out before the movie because I looked at like the IMDb cast list and they had her first and last name. And her character's first and last name, so that's how I knew it, because I remembered that quote from the original. So, John, before you go see it, watch the original and pay attention to such things. That was our brief Entertainments segment.
I love it.
Well, no, we have more entertainments because Carter actually was relishing the entertainments.
Well, go for it, Carter.
There was a movie I watched over the weekend. It just came out on Amazon Prime. It's called 13 Lives, that I thought was a really good movie. And you guys should really see it. It's really good.
My wife has
No
been pushing to
spoilers.
watch it. We'll probably watch that this weekend or this week sometime because she was all about that minor story.
Yeah.
When it was really happening, she was glued to the TV, and it had such a good ending that she's.
It wasn't the miners; it was the kids' soccer team.
That's right, the kids in the mine, right, or the cave, whatever.
In the cave.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But she's excited to watch that. So Carter, we'll have a review on the Entatainments on the second string in no time for that.
But Logan, can you keep up with it? Because I don't know if there's explosions.
Is there
I'm not
no
sure.
explosion? Carter, how long until the first explosion? I give it 20 minutes.
Boom.
I'm out, man. No explosion, no watch.
We recently, John and I had a texting moment that I felt like it was the two of you talking. Because I know you, and I believe you guys watched Severance. If I'm correct, did you guys both watch that?
Walker did. I haven't.
Oh, Walker did. Okay, so maybe Walker can only relate. John was texting me like, "Why is this hallway so long?" Like in the first episode, and he's like, "I can't watch this show if it's just this guy walking down a hallway and turning corners."
Fair enough.
But if the Screen Junkies gets a hold of this trailer or whatever, honest trailers, they're literally going to roast them about guys walking around hallways, because there's a lot of times where they're just walking aimlessly around these white hallways.
True.
It's
I always fast forwarded. I could fast forward like 15 seconds, and it's like, oh, they're still wandering around this freaking hallway.
But
let me fast forward again.
In the background, if they had just no context explosions, it would be worth watching, wouldn't it? Nobody can deny that.
Yeah, like guns blazing.
Yes.
I cannot claim that show was fast paced in any way. I did think it was an interesting.
It did pick up.
Yeah,
it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was weird, but it was good.
Yeah, it's a strange one. But have any of you guys ever worked in a restaurant?
Sort of.
Not
a quick service restaurant.
There's a show on Hulu that we just finished called The Bear. And it basically, the plot is this guy was like the head chef at a fine dining restaurant in New York City. He's like one of the best chefs in the country, and his brother dies, and his brother leaves him his like crappy sandwich shop in Chicago. So in order to help out the family, this like uber talented chef has to go work at this crappy restaurant. These dysfunctional employees, and it's awesome. I loved it.
It's very good.
Okay.
And it's Lip from Shameless is the main guy.
Yeah.
If you watch Shameless
is a top 5 show. I loved Shameless.
So if you've seen The Bear and you've watched all of it, I would do this after you've watched it. There's a guy, the friend of the show. He's a writer. His name is Jeremy Collins. He's a fellow Georgia grad. He actually wrote a piece this past week about The Bear. And it was actually talking about like the song that's playing in one of the opening scenes, the first time that there's chaos in the kitchen. And there's like it's actually like meaningful and like had meaning. These are the kind of things I don't catch. But I'll have to send it to you, Walker. You'll have to read it. It's very well done.
I like that kind of stuff. But it took me back to my Pizza Hut days.
Nice.
Working in the chaotic kitchen.
Tell you what, Walker, if you ever need a soundboard and your soundboard isn't working, you know who to call.
Got that right. Got that right.
You haven't dropped my favorite line yet. Can I get a BCS National Champions?
BCS Championship Bowl Game Champions.
Yes.
There we go. I think that's my favorite green line.
I still can't believe that that was all real.
I like Court
Urban Myers.
Court Urban Myers.
It's comedy gold.
Trail, man.
I don't know why
powered the second string for years.
Yeah, I don't know why that even became a thing. One year before the Georgia-Florida game, we played her entire speech from the Senate floor about the Gators and how they had beaten Oklahoma and won the national championship. And then Logan was smart enough to cut it all up into little quick segments that we could use as a soundboard. And then Kareem became our third mic. And we don't intend to make fun of Kareem. It's just, I think it's funny just to drop those lines in there.
No, one day you guys are going to open up, wake up, check out the news, and the Second String podcast will be sued for everything we own because Kareen is going to discover that she's been used for years on this podcast, and we're probably going to get canceled in the process too. So
hey, at least we'll have good memories.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Logan, if you guys can get an NIL deal with Kareen Brown, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
I've said so many times I want to reach out to her and get her on the show one day. Yeah. That's my dream.
We could just tell her it's for a campaign, like we're going to talk some politics and just talk about the 08 Gators the whole time, man.
That's Percy
Harvey. I don't know.
The nasty, ugly, wretched Gators.
Logan, you've got the tailgate spot that you posted about on social media a good bit over where I mean I don't know if you want to share that, but
and we send everyone to Logan.
Where do we go for free beer?
It's on the campus of the University of Georgia. It's right there.
Right.
Look for the red tent.
And when you're not tailgating and you're downtown Athens, where you guys are more local, so like what's your go-to spots downtown?
I just recently, and this is a shameless plug for Kirby Smart. I think he owns ownership stake, but Chuck's Fish is good. Have y'all been to Chuck's Fish yet?
I don't even know that I know where that is.
It's right there on East Broad, I guess West Broad. No, is it East Broad still? It's right across from the old. I guess the Spring Hill Suites is still there. What was the old hotel that used to be there? They tore down. I mean, it's within. You could throw a baseball and hit the arch from there. I mean, it's not far at all from there. Okay. It's Chuck's Fish. There's a couple locations in like Destin. There's one here in Athens for whatever reason, and I think Kirby owns a lot of it. It's where the recruits go eat when they come into town. But it was really, really good. We finally went there a few weeks ago.
Nice.
And Walker, you've been there too, haven't you?
I have. My wife and I went there for our anniversary or something. We had sushi. It was really good. I'm a Marker 7 guy myself. I love the patio over there on Millage. I think they've got tremendous seafood. I haven't been to a bar downtown since Uptown Lounge closed.
Uptown Lounge closed? No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
When I am with friends, like we try to go to downtown Athens the Friday night before home games and kind of get the whole feel for the college town. And Clocked is a great burger joint downtown. We enjoy that. It's been around for a few years. I like Trapeze a lot. I think that's always a good, a little mid-scale dining, not going to break the bank, but it's not fast food by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know, just getting out there and we'll try to hit a brewery up, whether it's Creature Comforts or Terrapin, kind of to early in the night, just to take advantage of living in and around a college town, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I can't imagine what that must be like.
Yeah. Walker, you got to keep your eyes peeled. My parents are at they love Marker 7. That's one of their favorite places. It's good. I've been there with them. Love it.
I had a business lunch there just a few weeks ago with a couple people, and the grouper nuggets, that's the way to go, man. Appetizers. Grouper nuggets.
That sounds delicious.
It is amazing.
And there's a salmon pimento cheese as well. We're giving them all the shameless plugs here.
That's what's up, man.
That's fine though.
Yeah, we gotta get the sponsorship. Not a sponsor yet is what we always.
Not a sponsor yet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sponsored by the Second String Podcast.
Darn right.
And my God podcast.
Yeah.
We need some
radio
sponsors first. Yeah, that's right. We've been an Ann's Now radio show for 3.5 years now. Yep.
Logan's got the good voiceover for it.
WGAU Athens News and Weather Station.
It's in his head, man. Hey, Carter, before you go to bed, check this out before you go to bed. So I was showing you my ring here. Somebody sent me this one at the radio station. This is not the one the Braves gave away, but look at this bad boy.
It opens?
This one actually opens. It got a little magnetic thing on the cover of it. And it's actually got like all, just like they had the other one. And look at the inside of that one. What does that say?
We are those world champions.
So I got the lid on mine, man.
Oof.
That's
pretty
awesome,
sweet.
man. That is awesome. Yeah, I don't have any. This is what happens when you live in North Carolina. I have none of the replica rings. I need to rectify that.
Yeah, man.
Hey, the Braves. My Braves need a win. Can we get a couple of wins this week?
Yeah, seriously.
Logan,
Hey,
please.
come on. They were like this last year. What'd they do?
They won
Carter's
it
got
all.
a point.
Yeah, they did not do what you guys were hoping for on the second string in this series with the Mets, unfortunately.
I thought winning 2 games of the 5 would be fine. I was like, I'd be good. I would take that right now, but they couldn't do that. And I mean, they really got beat up pretty good. I'm a little deflated coming off that series, but 5 games this week against teams that are under 500. Maybe you win 4 out of 5 this week, and then you get another shot at those lousy, stinking Mets next week.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
All right. Well, I know it's getting late, and I know both Carter and Walker probably need to head to bed soon. So,
this year Carter's on the late soccer schedule this year, so he would have been just getting out of soccer practice on the normal.
I know. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, this is actually inside baseball. This is actually more around when we start. Although I don't know, this is kind of nice. Like I'm gonna get to bed a little earlier. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this will be what it's like regular season because Mondays I'll have free now.
Amazing. New things are happening on My God a Podcast this season.
Well, Walker, get to bed. I got a date with Dennis Morton here in a minute. Get him to go for a ride.
I gotta say again, be good out there, Logan. But if you can't be good, be careful. Always.
That's exactly right. No, this was fun, man. We'll have to get y'all on one of our shows one of these days too, man.
Thanks for having us.
Man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
when we had Logan on last year, we said we got to get Walker on, and happy that we were able to pull that off. I know you guys are busy and you gotta get up crazy early, so really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
And next time you have Logan on, you will say, "Leave Walker at home."
No.
Yeah.
No, he said we got to get him.
That's right.
That's what he said. He said we got to get him.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
No man left behind.
And even better to have Carter on. Carter again, the only one on this podcast who has been on the Second String podcast. So we got the big timer here rolling.
Not that it's a competition.
That's right. That's right.
In fact, Walker, remind me this week. I think we can pull the Carter intro out. We haven't done that in a while.
I can make a new one if you want. I've been
we got
practicing.
If you want to update it, man, send it our way.
Awesome. All right, appreciate it, guys.
All right, gentlemen, good times, man. We appreciate it.
See you guys. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.